Hey, thank you everybody for joining us on the inaugural show of Shadowband Studios. And today we're going to be discussing protests, Palestine, and the courts. We're going to be discussing it through a local case where we had an acquittal recently by these two lawyers. We have Miss Hannah Sbaity and Mr. Kareem Kashlan, and we're going to be talking about that with them. I'd just like you to go ahead and just introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Hannah Sbaity. I'm based out of Atlanta, Marietta to be particular. I practice criminal law, criminal defense, and personal injury. And I'm the founder of Sbaity Law. My parents are originally Lebanese, and I'm a first generation American.
Greetings, I guess. My name is Kareem Kashlan. Likewise, practice criminal defense, personal injury, litigation, all that fun stuff. Parents are immigrants, so
So you guys took this case on, right? This is a case. There was a client actually that our firm represented at one point, and then you represented when he was arrested during a protest. And how did you get that case? Tell us a little bit about it.
Got a random call saying, hey, I was acting in self defense. I was wrongfully arrested and I need help. And so I got on the case. I believed my client and I'm glad I did because he is still telling the truth and was at the time. And he was innocent.
And how did you get involved?
halfway through the case, there was a immunity hearing coming up, and that's kind of where I stepped in.
Okay. So ultimately, the case went forward, and you were able to secure an acquittal.
Yes. So right from the beginning, I filed a slew of motions, a bunch of pretrial motions, and a plea, not guilty plea. Just saying, "Hey, let us be heard in court." And one of those was the immunity motion saying that our client was acting in self defense and therefore this case should be dismissed and we should be afforded a hearing on that matter.
So that's a good point. Let's get to that point. So first thing I want to start out is I kind of want to lay out what happened. Your client was at the protest, right?
Yes.
Where was this protest?
Lawn in Alpharetta, it's an outdoor shopping center in a pretty affluent area. It's on a with a lot of traffic, so it has a big exposure.
Was it a march? Were they speaking? Was it
It was permitted, organized, advertised. It was for Lebanon and Palestine.
okay? Okay, two countries that are being occupied and heavily bombarded currently right now.
Yes.
So this was an organized protest, and this protest, these people that came in as alleged victims, they were there. They were there to protest for Palestine.
No.
No, quite the opposite. Actually, they were there to counter protest, and they were calculated and strategic with their approach with it.
And we're the initial aggressors.
So we're going to give them a little bit of background, right?
Mhm.
My system wasn't working before, so we've had a chance to talk about this. It's kind of one of those things where you're filming and then you go back and you're like, "Oh shit, we weren't really filming at all." Yes. Hopefully this one is going to work. And I wanted to go back to it. I want to bring some levity up to the topic here. We all know what happened on October 7th. Everybody recognizes the tragedy and the loss of life on October 7th. Right. Now we know what happened after October 7th and what's been happening for the last 2 years. And recently, a lot of people have been learning about what's been going on since well before October 7th. And so I think that that's spurring a lot of these protests against occupation, protests against genocide, which it has been recognized as. And that's where your client was at a protest to help recognize the Palestinian people.
Yeah, Palestinian and Lebanese.
And so he's Palestinian.
He is. He's Palestinian Jew.
Okay. And I'm glad you said that. There are many different cultures that are Palestinian. There are Palestinian Jews, there are Palestinian Christians, and then there are Palestinian Muslims. And before 1948, they were all living together, and many of those people still identify as Palestinian Jews, like Professor Avi Shlaim, who wrote the famous book, The Iron Wall, Elan Mizrahi, who is a YouTuber right now that is against genocide. Their families date back before that. So you were saying he was a Palestinian Jew and he was protesting the genocide in Palestine. What happened?
He was attacked by a counter protester who is Israeli and served in the IDF, as we found out. And after he was attacked, he tried to get away. And once he got away, some protesters tried to break it up, ran across the street to them. And then a supposed witness who was driving through the protest with the pro-Israel propaganda being displayed on the SUV, called it in to the cops as the Israeli being attacked.
I see. And they believed that bullshit at the time.
It's the only side they saw, and they meaning the police.
And now a lot of people are able to see through a lot of these things. This happened when?
Last
Last
October.
Yeah.
Last October.
So it's been a year,
So were you able to talk to the prosecutors about this case?
multiple times.
Now, I know you and I have had a chance to talk to Keith Gammage, the elected solicitor on the case, responsible for all the Fulton County cases. And this is a Fulton County State Court case before which judge?
It was Judge Jane Morrison.
Morrison. Okay. So it was a Fulton County State Court case. And I remember you and I reaching out to Keith a long time ago after we had an opportunity to see a video that you showed me that I believe was clearly exculpatory. Did you ever show that video to them?
Yes, actually, after Kareem got on it, we were actually, we were impaneling a jury during a break. We sat down with them, giving them a final chance to dismiss the case. And we showed them not only that video, but police body cam footage that showed a key witness that we actually used in our case telling the cops, hey, he's actually a victim. He didn't do anything.
So the police body cam footage, that obviously came from the state, right?
Yeah. The one that wasn't deleted. And by deleted, meaning there was spoliation of evidence.
Right.
Go through that.
Yeah, no, based on, the officer's testimony and then through the one or two video that we did have, it was evident that, there was about 6 officers that responded to the scene. Now, whether they're there before or not, we don't really know. But, with 6 officers, you have 12 footages, body cam and dash cam. Well, we had 1 dash cam, maybe 2 body cams, but, the rest of the officers, who were they speaking with? What are they saying?
And pertinent 911 calls, which we confirmed through cross-examination that the victim and witness actually spoke to 911 operators. Those were not produced.
Huh. Okay. So do you believe that there was any pressure to proceed with this, even though there was, okay, I see.
It's beyond a belief.
Both get me. Okay. So the question is do you think there was pressure to proceed with this case?
Absolutely.
Okay. Break it down for me.
Well, obviously, with where we are in global affairs, there's a little heightened sense of, vulnerability and sensitivity and all of that. But I think this was kind of a coordinated attack, so to speak, on all levels of government and agencies. You have the local police officers that responded that really didn't give a shit about what the defendant had to say. They came on the scene after speaking with a witness or two. Put him in handcuffs, threw him in the back of the car for 20, 30 minutes. He's yelling out, I didn't do it. The guy said he had a gun. The guy hit me.
Actually, our client came to the cops trying to tell his side of the story. It wasn't like they had to go and tackle him down, manhandle him. I mean, he was just like, okay, take me. I want to talk to you.
So I find this hard to believe because I know the IDF to be like a real kind knitting, like a knitting group, right? They just sit around. They're not a violent type, are they?
I was like, are you okay?
So this former IDF soldier goes and makes these allegations. Your client goes and explains that this isn't the circumstance at all. And then the client was arrested.
Yeah, and our client was actually chased by a large wooden sharpened post.
That was my favorite part.
Yeah.
This was on video?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, here's
100%.
the thing. Yeah, it was.
100%. And the thing is, based on the allegations and all that, we knew that there was like a stick involved. And from the few videos that we saw, which was one taken from a vehicle from the witness, another one taken, tangentially by the protesters. So you have like this 2 sides of a triangle with the same viewpoint at the same time. Looking through the videos and like a crackhead, I was watching the same minute and a half,
Like,
2 minutes.
on the big screen.
And I'm trying to answer the question, where the fuck did the stick come from? And then I don't know how, but I see, and this pixel, I'm zooming in on every fucking frame that I can. And,
Sure.
and I see this movement on top of an electrical box that's at an intersection, one of those big green ones. I'm looking a little bit more, and then you just see him just kind of lift the
As
thing
he's
up.
walking, he's charging towards our client. He's just picking it up like he knew where it was. He just charges at our client, who's running down the street with a book bag that he thought had something that could harm everybody because he had received death threats from this IDF soldier.
So did they arrest the IDF soldier once they saw that video?
Absolutely.
no.
Okay.
No, I mean, it was the utmost sympathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to that
yeah.
because I know that there was an issue with the witness list that when you talked to me about that, I had a real problem with. But I want to go into whether you personally spoke. We were talking about you personally speaking with the prosecutors. Why don't you tell me about that?
We had conversations, you and I, with like up top. And then we got set for calendar call. And I go in and I'm ready to tell the judge, hey, we haven't had the immunity hearing, which I filed that motion back in March. And this is before Kareem came in the case.
It's important that they hear those first. For those of you who don't know, an immunity hearing in the state of Georgia means that you did your act with justification. And so you cannot be prosecuted, plain and simple. Please.
So we hadn't been afforded that opportunity. Discovery was still being supplemented like the day of. I got wind that they had new information, and I may put it on the record that we are entitled to that information. And so we needed that information. So I asked for a continuance. We got reset to the following week for the immunity hearing, literally the end of the week. And discovery was still being supplemented.
To say that we were supposed to have the immunity hearing right before trial on
Yeah.
a Tuesday.
Yeah. We were told that the immunity hearing would take place the same day trial was.
That's irresponsible.
So we disagreed with that and filed a motion for continuance.
And I'll tell you why that's irresponsible. Because that's a judge telegraphing, I'm going to deny your immunity motion before I hear any fact, because we're going to deny your motion and then proceed to trial. And that's exactly what the worry should have been.
And so we teed up for it regardless. And I also, that night before, as we were still getting discovery, we filed a motion for sanctions and a motion to compel, in addition to the motion for continuance, because we found out pertinent police footage had been deleted
Interesting.
that had exculpatory / impeachment value.
So now we have exculpatory evidence that we think maybe might have been deleted. We have exculpatory evidence that you had from both your client or somebody from your witness side and from the state. And what type of pressure were you facing? Not you. Let's put it this way, because I'm a former prosecutor too.
Mhm.
Back in the day, we used to be able to make our own decisions because they would trust us. Otherwise, they wouldn't hire us. You know what I mean? But now I think, nobody really wants that job anymore. And you just got to fill those jobs in with bodies, right?
Yeah.
And so how was your relationship with the trial line prosecutors dealing with the case?
For the most part, we understand, I was a public defender for a bit. We all have a job to do. So, they were pretty much professional, respectful, understanding based on our, conversations offsite.
But behind closed doors,
That's what
when
I
we
wanna
were
know.
negotiating, we put the pressure on them and we're like, hey, reminder, we all took an oath. Tell the guy upstairs that this is wrong. And we were adamant that, they were like, there's nothing that is, going in our client's favor. And we literally jumped down their throats and we're like, excuse you? We made them sit down, made them watch the footage we had in front of us and call the guy upstairs.
And they called him
they called
They
him.
saw.
Mm-hmm.
And what did they tell him?
That's proceed.
And who were they talking to?
Key.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So they wanted to proceed despite seeing that evidence. So do you think that had any sort of political motivation rather than any sort of basis in the law?
Absolutely.
And by the way, I have never seen a witness so invested. In fact, invested more so than the victim.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
want to get to that because I have some concerns about this.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
Because
should.
what I understand is that they provided you with a witness list, and the witness list had all the names of the people that were there, and they were all listed as members of the Atlanta Israel Coalition.
Yep.
The State Star Witness has some pull in that coalition.
So my question is, you have the right to find these witnesses, but the addresses they provided for these witnesses.
So it was the phone number. So 2 of the 4 counter protester witnesses, let's just call them, 2 of the 4 put the coalition's business line on there.
Their own.
So it's not a concerned citizen.
I see.
Yeah.
So were there members of that coalition there in trial?
Absolutely.
So one showed up to testify. They didn't even bother bringing the other witnesses.
By the way, there were 3 other ones, including the testifying witness. So there's a total of 4.
So we have the Atlanta Israel Coalition, and I'm not making any accusations here. I'm just kind of putting like
The
Kinda-
pieces.
I'm just adding one A plus B here, right?
Right.
So we have exculpatory evidence. I can tell you I've seen the exculpatory evidence. I know what it looks like. It's pretty obvious that he was not the aggressor in the case, and I know it was not something new because this is something we discussed with them back in January. So it's not something that was new when they got to it. And so we have that, and we have a protester. And the protester, if I remember, he looks like me. He doesn't look light skinned or what. He's definitely
Honestly,
brown.
he's ambiguous. We look at him. We're like, well, you could be anything.
Sure, but I mean, but he's not lily white. Is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
So he's not lily white, and he's there and he's protesting against the genocide. And we oddly live in a pro-genocide society, I guess.
With this administration, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was Tom Cotton just the other day who, told everyone to ignore the realities, ignore the evidence, ignore the truth. Palestine verbatim is a fiction. It's made up.
This is why you should not elect people with traumatic brain injuries. Tom Cotton, and who's the one from Pennsylvania? The guy who had the stroke.
Fetterman.
Trust me, you want your elected officials to have all of their brain power.
Another thing I want to mention about the witness list, if we're adding some more things to it, guess who was left off the witness?
Who?
Everyone else that came forward and said he didn't do anything.
Did you guys talk to those witnesses?
Oh yeah, we did. But see, here's the thing: we don't bear the burden of proof.
No. I'm not asking that.
Yeah.
I'm asking to see if you verified that they did indeed go speak with police.
We tracked them down. We tracked down.
Tell me.
So we're sitting here. I mean, I'm a member of the Arab community. So is he. I mean, you get to know people from your auntie's dinners or
Sure.
whatever. I mean, and we're like zooming in on people's faces. Do we know this person?
Yeah.
Because, protests bring together people from different places.
Sure.
So you might not know the people. And so from tracking them down, and we tracked down the lady that was on the police cam footage saying, hey, he didn't do it. He was attacked. What are you arresting him? And she even gave her number to the police on camera. And she was left off the incident report. Wasn't even, from what we understand, interviewed by the state. She wasn't even brought to trial by the state. She wasn't even mentioned by the state.
You're sure making it seem like facts and law didn't really matter in this case.
It clearly didn't, because if facts and law was a central focus in the state, this case would have been null pros.
Maybe never accused in the first place.
No. And by the way, the accusation had to be amended because they even got the date wrong on it. But go ahead.
So I want to know, did they make you any offers? What was the offer on? Did your
Literally
client,
the day of.
did your client get an offer and they're like, hey man, just take class and we'll dismiss this thing?
You're going to find this hilarious. Guess what the offer was when he pleads guilty to 2 counts of simple act?
When was the offer, the first offer made?
The day of jury selection.
That was the first time we got an offer from the state. In this case.
But did you know?
Did you guys have a Lafleur-Frye hearing in the case, or did they not provide one? Okay, this is in the state of Georgia, a Lafleur-Frye hearing is the opportunity for your client to hear what the offer is before trial, so that they'll be able to know whether or not, if they proceed, that this is what the state was recommending, so that defense attorneys, I guess, properly communicate the offer to the client.
Which I can't remember if it was the day we had our immunity hearing, because they were like, there was a day in between, or was it the day of trial? I can't remember, but literally we didn't have that hearing.
Understood.
And what was the offer?
It was really good, honestly, and we tried to tell our client to
This
take
is the
it.
deal of the century.
Amazing, better. And even the judge mentioned that this deal was so good she's never heard of it before. But it was 1,000 hours of community service, something around $1,000 in fines.
Cultural sensitivity course.
Which my question to the state was, well,
where the fuck does a cultural sensitivity course take place? Are you going to tell us that we have to be nice to Israel?
Well, also who sets the curriculum on that one? Is it the American Israeli Coalition?
Who are we paying?
So 1,000 hours of community service. I can tell you that I've tried hundreds of cases. I tried mostly homicides now. I'd never, in federal cases that I've tried, in federal cases that I've pled out, I've never seen 1,000 hours of community service.
That's okay, Musa, because they dropped it down to 500. Yeah.
Sweeten the deal even better.
Then you know that they're just bullshitting. They're just throwing out numbers.
Like,
They
what
have
the
no
fuck?
real idea what's happening, do they?
Oh, they don't. And it's kind of clear from the beginning that, I don't think the office in and of itself or whoever was, whatever. But it was clear that the way that the case was worked up wasn't worked up because they didn't think it was worthy of going to
Also,
trial.
did they not think we were going to stand up for our client? Did they think we were a bunch of
Idiots?
I don't know. Yeah,
Mouth
seriously.
breathers?
So I think the point is that they understand that they hold all the cards. They're the accusing authority, the prosecuting authority. They are the authority that determines what evidence is relevant and what evidence is coming in. So they think, right? So when you get to trial, they feel like your back's against the wall. Why would you walk away from no jail when you could get jail? And when they deal with lawyers that deal with cases that are more serious than 12 months at a time, it's kind of hard to push them around. They're not really intimidated by that. So that's shocking that it was 500 hours community service. I want to know more. I want to take a little break and check on this. And then I want to come back and I want to talk about the courtroom atmosphere and what that was like. So I wanted to get back to something that we were talking about before, was this 1,000 hours of community service. And I know you had a point you wanted to bring up about that.
Yes. So when the state knocked it down to 500 hours, and we still thought that was ridiculous, the judge actually made a comment that was one of the highest numbers she's seen, especially for something like this. And they were still at this point, he's innocent until proven guilty. It was still accusations. But for that to be proposed for that kind of accusation was absurd. Even the judge caught on to that and mad points for that. She was great.
She knew that it wasn't
Yeah.
about the law. At that point, when it was like, okay, I see, they're not really doing the right thing here. They're just trying to do something.
Now I can't say snanking, but I can say she encouraged us to work it out and have conversation.
Well-
and we took several breaks to have those. And she actually excused herself from the bench so that she could remain a neutral and detached magistrate.
So that's good, because that kind of rolls into the next question. She gave you a chance to talk. She gave you guys this. What was the atmosphere like in the courtroom that day?
It was tense. Like we might have alluded to a little bit earlier, we were, going forward. We were in the process of voir dire. We had all of our, arguments that we had to make. All that's going on. We're trying to negotiate a deal. We had potentially on the table a diversion, which they, the assistants were receptive to. And then at the very last second, they're like, okay, no, that's off the table.
Actually, just kidding.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
So the assistants were like, maybe we can do diversion.
Yeah.
Let me check.
It wasn't me.
And we were hung up on the condition of diversion, and we came at maybe 10, and we bumped it up to like 20 hours community service, and they're like, no, we need
But the intention would be for our client to serve the community he loves and still somehow avoid trial, and so we don't have to do this all again. Because I'll tell you, our immunity hearing was a lot.
we did a little over 2 hours on what
One witness
across.
it was extensive. So they didn't want to go through a trial.
Right.
But
So you're in court, you have pressures from all sides. Your client trusts you. I know him. So I know that of all the things, sometimes clients can be very difficult. He was probably the least of your
He's a
worries that day.
sweetheart.
Yeah. So I know him, and I've dealt with lots of clients. He would seem like that's the one thing that you could be like, okay, at least I don't have to worry about client control today.
Right.
I got somebody that gets it, right?
And he didn't want anything that said guilty. He was fine with something not guilty with conditions. And that's why diversion was a good something.
Good admin.
Yeah.
So diversion is something that they would give to people who committed like a family violence battery, or like a theft, or a battery, or some sort of crime. So why is it different when it's a protesting case?
Well, I think, which is kind of funny, because obviously it was a political move, whether it was for the censorship of free speech or whether it was for the censorship of anything, pro-Palestinian, anti-genocide, anything like that. Clearly, people had issues for that.
And if it's coming from up top, is it election year?
I have a question. He was reelected in 2024.
Just about to
Do we
say.
have any information to know whether the Atlanta Israeli Commission has made any sort of donations to
Not like
damages campaigns?
Yeah, we couldn't find anything directly, but again, I mean, you're an elected official. You're there for the people.
Right.
People voted you in. You would want policies and, prosecuting cases that actually impact, protect, and kind of better the community. And then with this case and the facts in and of itself, this wasn't one of those cases that you would want prosecuted. So it was very clear from the very beginning that there is an external force putting pressure on Keith to pursue this.
Whatever that might be.
Whatever.
We have a duty as attorneys. For example, if we're briefing an issue, we have to bring it up to the court if there is case law that is directly against what we're alleging. So why wouldn't we be held to the same standard in court when there's exculpatory evidence?
Now, exculpatory evidence, this is something, and you probably heard the phrase Brady before.
Mhm.
Brady material is material that can either convict or outright acquit your client. And what I'm hearing is there was Brady material that you did not receive until that day, the day of trial.
Well, we received it, but
Right.
the prosecution denied it. And then when we brought it to their attention, they dismissed it.
Right.
As in, no.
Yeah. So the evidence that we found, the exculpatory evidence that we found, wasn't something that we did to dig up. It was given to us in the
Aside from that one video.
right.
Right. That was the other one that I was alluding to.
Yeah.
Right. But they so yeah, the body cam footage was and that's on there. So all you have to do is just watch it. And you would hope that like people making decisions to limit or eliminate your freedoms and liberties would, do the due diligence to make sure that, hey, let me make sure that this case from A to Z is clean, that there's nothing that's gonna fuck shit up. So let's make better use of everyone's time. But if you don't want to take the 15 minutes to watch the video, why the fuck are we spending 2 days on trial?
So I just want everyone to know I did reach out to Keith via email. I haven't heard back. By the time this comes out, you want to be on, you're welcome. Everybody gets an opportunity to talk about whatever they want to talk about here. And what I want to talk about is the fact that we have a witness list full of the Atlanta Israeli Coalition, a case that looks like it's dismissible from video evidence alone, an outright acquittal that you got, ridiculous 100 hour, or not 100, 1,000 hour. 100 is what they give to people convicted of serious felonies. 1,000 hours of community service. I mean, I think it's going to lead people to wonder, why was this case handled so disparately than any of the other cases?
I don't. That's the thing I don't understand, because it's not. And I don't want to shit on the state. Again, the assistant solicitors were professional. They
We
were
had good
great.
rapport.
We enjoyed our time with them. It really just kind of starts at the local level. It starts with hiding the witnesses that have the exculpatory evidence. It comes with doing botching everything up. You didn't read them as Miranda rights.
They muted.
There are
Muted.
from the few camera footage that we did have, they're muting him. And I even asked the officer on cross, I'm like, what is the policy? Is the policy not to record all pertinent information at all times during the investigation? He's like, yes. I'm like, okay, well, do you have the mute? He's like, yes and no, it's up to our discretion. But like, again, the general rule is everything has to be recorded. Well, then why the fuck are you muting yourself for 2 minutes of a 12-minute clip on multiple occasions?
And here's the cute thing, right? This guy, the officer on the stand, has been an officer for 10 years.
10 years.
6 years with Alpharetta PD, and he doesn't recall certain parts of their policy, or he doesn't know. Now, how are you?
So the policy of like, what do you do with the camera footage after you're done recording?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How long does it need to be preserved? What is defined as pertinent in terms of the muting?
Makes me wonder if they've taken their
Post-certification seriously, right?
or if they even attended their most recent brush up that
And-
they have to do.
And as somebody, I represent police officers with their post-certification in jeopardy. So I've done the other side,
I mean,
and I'll hold them to the same standard.
you remember I represented Sheriff Victor Hill, acquitted him in 2013 with a team of lawyers. I dealt with lots of law enforcement ever since. I hate to say this, it's not the norm, but I feel like when they come to court, they feel like they're on a team and they have to even if it means stretching the truth, they have to be on that team.
Right. And to your point, it was kind of clear, it's from the very beginning, between the muting, between leaving witnesses
Hiding
off,
the actual video recording.
you get up there and you want to tell me that, you don't know how to save the video. And then when you're on cross, you keep referring them to a Hamas protest.
And then also
In his cross-examination, he kept repeatedly, multiple times calling them Hamas protests.
Who
Hamas
did?
protests? The officer in the cross from Alpharetta.
Oh, so then you already understand that this person has a limited education and doesn't quite realize.
It's either that or it's some other words put in his mouth to just kind of parakeet it all.
Which we don't know, but I mean, it is the rhetoric that was used from the state's witnesses was clearly one-sided and very prejudicial.
Were you offended by it?
I mean, it was that, yes. And it's hard because we're standing there and we have to kind of block that out and keep it civil.
See, I can't do that.
For me, it's a little bit easier because I grew up in Alpharetta, right? That time 9/11 was what, 7th grade, 8th grade, somewhere around there. So,
Sure.
You learn to grow thick skin when people start talking mad shit.
Yeah.
So I have just a few questions here that I want to go through with both you guys. I want to, I want you to kind of, as lawyers, kind of briefly walk us through the exculpatory evidence. I want to go through the prosecutorial pressure that you felt. We discussed the atmosphere in the courtroom, but I also I want to talk about the human dimension with regard to your client, with regard to the witnesses you had on your side. And so I want to take a quick break here. So before we end, I want to just go over some stuff and you guys can both chime in. I want to talk about the case and the evidence, and I want you to kind of like walk us through how you received the evidence and then presented it.
Okay. So discovery literally came. I filed a motion for discovery back in March, and we had a September calendar call, and the discovery literally came days before that calendar call. So that's why I asked for a continuance.
Because you're technically entitled to 10 days before trial.
And according to the judge, there are some limitations as to what the state has an obligation to turn over in state court. But we felt like we were entitled to the whole truth, not the half truth. And what we were provided with, first of all, we needed time to sift through and watch that footage.
Right.
And also, part of it was missing and deleted.
Because I will say we were, we have the immunity hearing. We were supposed to, it might have been mentioned, immunity hearing and the first day of trial were supposed to be on the same day. So we're drastically trying to go through these videos. And again, as we keep watching videos, we realize that there's potentially more evidence out there that we need to check and see and make sure as we're doing this,
That there was more information.
Yeah, more information was coming in. It was supplemented the night of the immunity hearing, the day of the immunity hearing,
So you were getting additional information
Right.
from all different jurisdictions.
Right. It's just being piecemealed all together.
And me, like, I'm following up with the solicitor on the case, one of them, saying, hey, I'm not able to access this. Hey, what is corresponding to what? Because if there's certain reports, I need to know what evidence is it referring to. It wasn't very organized. It's like a dump of
Sure, yeah.
information. And so it wasn't easy to go through, even though it was framed as if I didn't know how to access certain. I'm sorry, it is kind of like mansplaining as to I don't know how to use technology. So eventually, I mean, we reached the day of trial.
Before the day of trial, they're amending the victim's affidavit. We've already sworn in the witness at this point.
The victim was still amending what they had said. We were getting this supplemented information. But even before we get to the beginning of trial, we had the motion to compel and motion for sanctions on the same day as right before we did the immunity hearing. And that was on the grounds of having spoliated evidence by the police.
Right, which came through some random ass screenshots of their
Avail web.
And it tells you that the videos pursuant regarding this case has been deleted by retention. Despite her filing her motion in March, these were deleted in April. So there was obviously time for you. And again, the law says if there's a criminal investigation, 30 months these videos needs to
be preserved.
Right.
But they were deleted on the 100th 80th a day. But why some and not all?
And then the other question I have is, I mean, the state, they were just that dismissive when you raised these things to them with regard to the exculpatory evidence and the spoliation of all of the evidence?
It's a little bit of that. And also, I think because, again, a lot of Solicitor Generals were on the case. So I don't think anyone really had the opportunity to sit down and actually view all the body cam, which you'll see the statements made by our witnesses, like telling the officers that he was attacked first, that our client was attacked first. You'll see the constant muting of the camera footage. You'll see these slick hidings of the angles. We have one body cam footage of a house visit, and on the frame is you have the officer directly ahead talking to somebody off screen. Well, where the fuck is that officer?
Yeah. And it's not even included in any incident report or, any follow up like this officer was called out to the home of blah, blah, blah at blah, blah, blah at this time. We report back, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. And that's customary to document.
So when did you guys become aware that this was a top-down thing, that it was coming from key?
From the very beginning, because I was brought in halfway through, and I'm like, what the fuck is this case about?
It reads
stupid. We didn't have any offers. We're burning the midnight oil on this case, and I'm taking a step back. I'm like, yo, this is absolutely insane. This is a misdemeanor. Like
2 misdemeanors, which for people try to downplay misdemeanors, but at the same time, someone could be facing jail time in a record.
People downplay misdemeanors, I find, that aren't involved in the criminal, that are involved in the criminal justice system. Yeah. If you've never been involved in the criminal justice system, any trip to the courthouse for a normal person is terrifying.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Even a traffic ticket, which is a misdemeanor.
So what did you think of the Fulton Solicitor's office that day? Did you think it was the Israeli Solicitor's office, basically?
Pretty much. And, Hannah might have alluded to it. We've never seen a victim.
A witness.
Sorry. And again, we did some fact finding, and we realized that there was some law enforcement liaison. And as we're reading all these discovery emails between, him and these offices, it's fucking clear as shit that this was coordinated and this was specific, and that, they're unrelenting of it. Yeah.
Wait, where and when?
I want to know if the witnesses said anything during the trial on camera. I want to know if any of this stuff was, the way that I see it, it wasn't outright rejected. It was accepted by the Fulton Solicitor's office.
You mean when the victim called them baby killers?
No, I want to say that the state's witnesses were completely credible and truthful, and they have no reason to lie whatsoever.
Thanks for that. Okay, I guess that answers it.
Yeah, and again, so part of it, it's clearly coordinated on the police report that obviously had missing witnesses that were anti their narrative. You had their witnesses putting down the Atlanta-Israeli Coalition's business phone number.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're expecting someone to call you from the police department to talk about,
so there's a liaison for these witnesses. These are witnesses by corporation, by coalition.
Yeah, it's in the name. Yeah, absolutely.
It's implied.
That's on brand. I'm going to say that, it tracks completely.
From your experience?
No, from my experience dealing with both the criminal justice system and the Israelis.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you saw it with how the police in their investigation. You saw it with how in the solicitor's office with the plea offer alone. It's just this was something that disproportional, and they clearly wanted to make an example out of whatever this was.
And guess what we did? We made an example of what it was.
So, I mean, it sounds like Jane Morrison, the judge in the case, managed it. I mean, she does, if you know her, she does a rocket docket. Right. Basically, everything is moving. You're a public defender. If you're on the calendar, you're moving. So, how did she manage it?
I will say an awesome job.
Yeah, she was great.
I mean, she really wanted us to focus at the issue of the 2 alleged simple batteries.
But did she let you try your case, though?
She did, but she was very careful because she tried to balance the interests of both sides and do what she was obligated to do under the law. But I will say there were 2 videos we wanted to get in that she wouldn't let us get in based on the fact that they were more prejudicial than probative.
But my whole entire argument was no, it's entirely relevant, biased.
What were the videos?
There were a few videos, one of which, so it's funny to come back to one of your earlier questions of when did we kind of realize something was up. During our immunity motion, we had the victim who testified that, like, he got attacked and he stepped back 30, 40 feet. And I've already watched the video. So when he's saying this, I'm like, I don't remember seeing all that. So he's being attacked, steps back 30, 40 feet, looks around, finds a stake, and then proceeds to, I don't even fucking know. At that point, like, people are off.
And
What are you doing? What are you trying to chase somebody with? But that was his story. So when after immunity hearing, that's the first time I heard his variations of it. So now I went back to the video and like a fucking crackhead, I'm rewatching these 1.5, 2-minute videos of where the fuck did this stick come from? Where the fuck did he pick it up? Why can't I see him so far off the camera looking around for shit? And then I realized
he just
I wish there's an electrical box on the intersection. And, his testimony was, I looked around, I saw it. But in the video, when you kind of blow it up a little bit, you see him, he's taken 1, 2 steps. He picks something off the electrical box and continues.
he doesn't even look at it.
He knew it was there. He absolutely knew it was there. And his testimony was, Alpharetta is a beautiful city. I don't know where the stick came from, but, I found it and I didn't put it there.
And we're calling it a
It's not a stick. It's a fucking 4x4 post that's been sharpened on one.
which he lied on the stand
Right.
and said it was square on both sides.
So, okay. A fence post with the triangle kind of to
Right.
dig into the ground.
Right. And I asked him on assessment, I'm like, are you sure it was a complete, one piece? And I asked him, like, is this a stick in nature? Is it something you'd find on a branch, let's say? He's like, no, it was fabricated. I'm like, cool. So you have to get it from fucking Home Depot. And so I asked him, like, it was incomplete. Nothing was broken. Nothing was sharpened. His answer was yes, 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 yes. And I asked him specifically, I'm like, is this your answer? Under oath. But, if you're lying, that's perjury. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. You'll see.
Yeah. And then I will say the other video that made us, know something was off was the video that that the state's witness took. And then we found a video from another protester that took of her while she was running to go tell the cops what had happened. But no, she was taunting the protesters, saying racial slurs, and she was going doop, 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 doop while she was crossing the street to go tell her story.
Which I don't know about you guys, but I do that when I'm deathly afraid.
Yeah.
So from a Dropbox, from the liaison to the state, we found the Dropbox, we found the video.
And then we manually entered this hyperlink.
Yeah.
And then there was this missing video that hadn't been produced. And of course it's not going to be produced because what is she calling?
Well, no, that video was altered because it's from her point of view reporting. The other video that we found of her recording at the same time, there's something she says that's muted in hers, but clear as fucking ours, which was October 7th should have taught you. Well, who the fuck says that?
When they're scared, first of all, the protesters.
Fuck whether they're scared or not, but who the fuck says that?
So basically, you have an agitator coming in there, making racial statements, claiming to be a victim when there's video evidence of the opposite.
Which
Now, was this person the victim?
No, this is the witness. This is why
I'm
like, technically she's victimized.
So how about that? This is the non-victim witness. How was her behavior in court?
All over the place.
Yeah.
Hard to control. And this is something the judge did very well, was tell us to get our witnesses under control.
Right. She kind of gave us some leeway, like you said. She let us try our case. But the moment she sent, because it's hard to keep it within the lanes of the actions of the, what's been accused. Like, they're there for a political reason.
Yeah, right. You're not there for the allegations.
We couldn't sanitize it. We couldn't.
It's not possible.
So she was just saying a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah. And all the body cam footages when they're, she'll make the comments of, well, oh my God, there's so many. So to the officers, she's like, oh, they're a bunch of rabid dogs. They're a bunch of terrorists. I don't want anything to do with them. I feel unsafe. I'm going to go home. But she's, walking out the crosswalk, putting cameras up in people's face saying, oh, look at them videoing me. I don't care.
And look at this. This man won't even talk to her. It's another Israeli protester that showed up at the scene. Look, she's smaller than him and he won't even talk to her. They don't even know how to talk.
So, okay. So she ended up humiliating herself.
100%. And
Yes.
I had her on cross. And her answers were just coy as shit. And it was evident because she's, familiar with the area. And I asked her to describe that intersection. She was like, I can't. What do you mean?
But then somehow she's always a victim at out.
So, okay. Well, how did this make you feel personally? I mean, we're all Middle Eastern here, irrespective of faith or whatever. How did that make you feel going in there?
I mean, for me, it's tough not to take this personally. You know, all of us, and whether directly or indirectly, have some impact in our lives from whether it's American policy or just the regional policies and the regional actors and all of that. So, and then when you see it again, I saw the narrative on national media from '01. I saw the attacks, I saw the whistles, I saw all of and it just kind of brought it back up all over again. And that, like, holy shit, it's been 20 fucking years and we're still doing the same shit. Like,
We grew up with the racial slurs being directed at us, and now we're defending someone who that's what's happening to them. And you have to remain professional
right.
and somewhat stoic at times, but then show your emotions when strategic. I mean, as an officer of the court, it's very hard to rein that in.
But, we're professionals and we have a job to do. And we understand we don't want the message to be obfuscated in any way because of twisting and a certain action or whatever. So we were very specific with the words that we used, how we carried ourselves. But it was honestly kind of really hard to separate it all. But, I think it was easy for us because instead of fighting for Lebanon and Palestine and all people, minorities, we're very firm believers of protecting First Amendment speech. So it's kind of easy to crisscross that. So our passion and our zealousy and all that was kind of more focused and curtailed to constitutional rights, human rights, civil rights, and all of that. So from that regard, we were able to personally separate ourselves.
Mhm.
But again, it was tough to separate case politics from that because they're layered.
And also, it's not like we were putting the case politics in it. It was coming up. It was coming from the Solicitor General. That's why we were there.
The case is about protesting. What is more political than protesting?
Not our client did something wrong. Our client did not.
Yeah, the state's argument was this is, I loved it, was this is a case about dignity and respect. So I'm like, oh, okay, so we're not here for fucking criminal conduct. This is what this is. This is a dignity and respect court of law.
But where was the dignity and respect from this victim that was making racist statements that was being
Exactly.
tacitly accepted and not just accepted, but I'll say encouraged by the state of Georgia in this case? I don't think there's any other way to say it.
In our opening, we called the case, our theme was
Right.
cancer to cancer to society.
Yeah.
Cancer to society. And how do you get rid of cancer? You cut it out.
The reason why we did that, because there was video footage that we wanted to introduce where it was her recording saying, look at these, they're a cancer on society. I've tried to reach out to my representative to do something about it. Well, do something about what?
Behind every corner of Alpharetta.
Which I love the choice of words. But
The occupation.
Beretta, yeah, we're here. We're fucking here.
Let me say this. I'm representing someone pro bono in the Emory protest case.
Yeah.
And he's charged with 2 counts of criminal trespass. And the charging document says that he illegally occupied a space after being asked to leave. So my question is that the problem for the Palestinians? They just didn't ask anybody to leave after they got occupied? I mean, I don't know. It's the fact that they can, with a straight face, put that in there. This is different, though. I did talk to the prosecutor. I had face-to-face meetings with the actual, solicitor there. I understand their position. Okay. But what happened in this Fulton County solicitor that's a different story.
Yeah.
My witness list doesn't say the Atlanta Israel Coalition. My witness list doesn't say those things. And this Solicitor General in DeKalb wouldn't allow that to happen, I don't think. But I guess we'll find out because I'll be trying this case coming up soon. Hopefully I can, pull on your expertise and how you guys
Yeah, I'm still baffled we're here today.
discuss this. And the community's grateful to have you.
Thank you.
Right.
This was a win for all of us, honestly.
I agree 100%. I'm very proud.
Thank
And
you.
so we were here because of our client.
Mhm.
He's genuinely a beautiful individual.
He is.
He had such a kind heart.
He is.
And he actually got emotional on the stand.
Which
We didn't know.
because he was so happy-go-lucky, and then we're like, how did it make you feel? And it's
And
just
then he just broke down.
And there's the human element right there.
right to a point where I needed a tissue.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, by the way, they should equip all courtrooms with tissues. We're not
Yeah, what the
tissues.
fuck?
Yeah, we were looking for the tissues. We're like, where is it?
I'm looking around, and then the deputy.
You learn to keep them in your briefcase after a while.
100%.
Going forward.
That and a big ass bottle of water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Musa. Seriously.
Thank you very much,
No
Kareem.
problem. Appreciate
So there you have it. You see it even at the local level. There's influences all over. People that you've known for years can change just like that. People that you expect to behave in a manner and tell you to behave in a certain manner are lying about it. And the people paying the price are, of course, those that are disenfranchised. So let's be grateful that we have lawyers like Kareem and Hannah out there trying to protect your rights, because whether or not you support Palestine, you have a right to protest. And if you stop his right to protest, you're stopping your right to protest. Thank you. Please follow, like, and share, and we'll see you next time.